Blockchain Show is a podcast that demystifies cryptocurrencies and distributed ledger technology.
Donald J. Trump on Twitter.
Yeah, that was a big one, huh? What did that guy say?
He said, I am not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money, and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Unregulated crypto assets can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. And international. This is the second tweet. We have only one real currency in the USA, and it is stronger than ever, both dependable and reliable. It is by far the most dominant currency anywhere in the world, and it will always stay that way. It is called the United States dollar. Third tweet. Similarly, Facebook's Libra virtual currency will have little standing or dependability. If Facebook and other companies want to become a bank, they must seek a new banking charter and become subject to all banking regulations, just like other banks, both national and I guess he probably has like a fourth tweet.
Oh yeah, there was a fourth one. It's funny because the first thing is there's a lot of inaccuracies, but for a Trump tweet, this one had a lot of a lot more substance than most of his tweets. You know, most of his tweets call out somebody for being a pig or just silly stuff. You know, fighting with people about something. So the enemy here apparently isn't Bitcoin really. He's talking about Facebook, right? And he probably has no idea what the dollar is, and there's some cheerleading stuff in there about how the dollar is amazing, and it's a good currency. But to say it's the most dominant currency anywhere in the world by far, I mean, I don't know. The euro is pretty good.
Right. Yeah. You know, I feel you. I think he's just talking from the perspective of someone who has all their wealth in dollars.
Yeah.
And he's been in that system his whole life. Well, I guess he doesn't have much control over the dollar. People may think he does, but probably has very little control, if all.
Very little, yeah. There's probably things he could do. But okay, so he says he's not a fan of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies, which are not money and whose value is highly volatile and based on thin air. Well, money. What does he mean by money? They are not money. Let me look at what money actually is, because it's sometimes you get a little zing with there's a highly specialized definition, right?
Yeah, I'm curious what you might find. I've heard different things.
Current medium of exchange in the form of coins and banknotes. So, I mean, okay, fine. If he means like, is it a coin or banknote? No, it's not money, right? But there's other definitions, you know, something of value, something that's a medium of exchange, something that holds, something that is fungible, this type of thing, what makes it good money. So, and it clearly fits the larger, broader definition of money, even if the very narrow coins and banknotes. It's not something that's from a bank and it's not a coin. So it's a digital currency, which has a lot of the same properties as money.
Yeah, isn't the dollar like over 90% digital though?
Yeah, most dollars they're digital. You know, there's M1, which is they have M1, M2, and M3, and M1 is the actual physical dollars that are in either coins or paper, and it's, you know, the M3 is, you know, 90% of M1 is only 10% of the entirety of M3. So it's mainly just, you know, we've had digital currencies for since the 70s. Most of money isn't dollars; it's just numbers in a computer system.
Right. Yeah, and it brings up to mind another article you sent me last week called "You Don't Understand Bitcoin Because You Think Money is Real." And the U.S. dollar is just an illusion, more widely and fiercely believed. And that gets to the core of what we've been talking about a lot on this show, of money. What is money? And
right. And it's clear that Trump doesn't quite get what money is. And he thinks that, he says like, what does he say? The U.S. dollar is backed by something and cryptocurrencies aren't. And it's wrong. The dollar isn't backed by anything. I mean, it has value because, like a lot of things, people have a story that was told, and people believe the story. And that's kind of how like corporations work, right? There's no physical body of a corporation, but we have the shared delusion that a corporation exists. We have the shared delusion that that the dollar exists. And some people have the shared delusion that Bitcoin exists. It's a legal fiction is what it's called. So the dollar gets its value out of thin air, just like Bitcoin.
Well, I think you're onto something, and I wonder if the commander-in-chief has a little bit more faith in the dollar because it's backed by the full faith of the United States credit or something like that.
Which is like the fanciest way of saying this is a complete work of fiction. This is backed by the full faith and credit of the United States government. What in the world does that mean? This is backed by the imagination of a bunch of G-men. Like, it doesn't mean anything, does it?
No, when you break it down, it's like, how is that? How is this still going? Like, how we'll come and bomb you if you don't use it anymore? Or I don't know.
Well, we definitely do that too. But I mean, so Bitcoin is backed by the full faith and computer programmers of software of the internet. You know, it's a money that's built for this age. It's not, you know, your Grandpa Trump's money, right?
Grandpa Trump. Yeah.
Grandpa Trump.
I guess he is.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's like an old way of looking at money, and it's what a lot of people used to believe about money, that the dollar was backed by something. The dollar was this important. But it's really just a shared delusion that everybody has. The dollar has value because other people accept it. Mainly, the government accepts it for taxes, and they have a lot of guns and force businesses to take it, and force businesses not to produce other competing currencies. There was like the Liberty dollar back in the 90s, and they kind of swatted that guy's house, and he didn't go willingly, and so there was a bit of a minor war, not war, but
yeah, he got
and they ended up dying because he didn't want to go quietly. Yeah, man. So it's definitely okay. And then the other thing. Cryptocurrencies are unregulated and facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other illegal activity. The dollar has so much illegal activity, right? It's nothing but a lot of it, not nothing but illegal activity, but it definitely facilitates illegal activity. If you were to judge whether a money or currency has worth based off of its ability to facilitate illegal activity, the dollar is one of the most used in illicit illegal activity currencies.
Yeah, I forget the percentage of $100 bills that have cocaine residue on them. It's pretty high.
100%.
Yeah. So
100% probably.
It's kind of a ridiculous statement. It seems like it's more of a hit piece on Facebook, and I wonder if it has anything to do with the social media summit that the president had on, I think it was like July 11th. He was addressing censorship. Did you hear anything about that?
I didn't hear anything about that, but yes, I definitely think this Trump tweet storm, or these 4 tweets, kind of showed his ignorance of what Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and the United States dollar is. But also, he's pointing out Facebook, and he's kind of attacking them and setting the stage for preventing Facebook from doing their Libra coin, because it's something that apparently him or his staff wants to stop in some way, shape, or form, or control. I don't blame them. You're a government. You want to control money. Facebook puts their name on a currency. I mean, the Libra coin will have better value than the USD. It'll probably be a better coin right off the bat. It'll probably be something that if you wanted to maintain your store your value better than the US dollar, then the Libra coin will probably do a much better job.
Yeah.
Of that.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's just a basket of currencies. It's less risky. When you look at global reserve currencies, they don't last forever. The pound one was at one time, most previously Spain was, Portugal I think was, and now it's the dollar. And it's been, a few 100 years, maybe 150 years, the dollar's been the global reserve currency, and that won't last forever. And when it no longer is, it'll lose a lot of its value relative to other currencies.
Yeah, it's the fiat, which I read means "let there be." So if you say fiat lux, it meant "let there be light." So we're saying "let there be dollars," and that's pretty much it.
Yeah, it's like the government declares that this has value, that this is money, and that did, there's a lot of sound money or there are monies. The dollar was backed by gold at one point in time, where it said this dollar is backed by 1 pound of gold, right? It was a 1 pound gold note or whatever it was, $50 worth of gold, and that was taken off. And was that 1912 or was that in the 70s? Do you know? You're a history guy.
Well, I know that we left the gold standard officially in the 1970s with Nixon, but I think the process started around World War II when FDR asked all the people to bring their gold, which is interesting. If you can find the old news articles, it made it seemed as if it was their patriotic duty to bring the gold for the war effort. So a lot of people just willingly handed over their gold and exchanged it for dollar bills, which were just Federal Reserve notes. And I mean, I guess that's better than what the Nazis did, just like stole people's gold.
So is a good moral test was this better than what the Nazis did?
I guess it's easy to pass that test.
How often does somebody fail that test?
Oh, maybe like in China and Soviet Union.
Yeah. I bet the Soviet Union is probably... Well, I'm not going to. No, I'm going to let you say that.
I don't know.
In what way is the Soviet Union worse than what the Nazis did?
I think they just killed more people, but that's just a body count thing. Who knows if the Germans would have won? I guess it could have been either way. It's a problem with bureaucracies. It kind of dehumanizes people and takes away, if you're just pushing paper from one side of the desk to the other and looking at people as statistics, there's inherent flaws in any system that can lead to that. I think that's why we need more leaders as opposed to bureaucrats. But that's a different story, man. I was going to say earlier that you're talking about the Liberty coin and the government stormed the ranch.
Yeah, did you hear about that? Or
yeah, it's hard for me to imagine the government storming Facebook, but that would be kind of interesting.
Facebook probably has more power on a global scale than the United States government does. Yeah, so it was a Liberty dollar, and the guy did kind of make them a little too much he was really trying his hardest to make it seem like it was a government type of it was on par with a USD. I wonder how Federal Express and UPS gets away with it. Because they're clearly trying to be like a government agency, like the Postal Service, right? In a certain sense, when you think of something like Federal Express, it has federal in the name, and it says Express as if it's part of the federal government. And, you have, I guess the United States Postal Service doesn't have quite the clout that, the IRS and the tax guys do, or the Federal Reserve Bank does to go after, these people who want to create their own private dollar. And of course, if you're going to create, a competitor or something like a competitor to the Postal Service or a competitor to the US dollar, like Liberty coin, you want to try to associate with the government. So the Liberty dollar clearly was even though perhaps a lot of it was trying to say we're not issued by the government.
I'm thinking about, we got an email, someone starting a coin called Zuckbucks, and they wanted to be on the show. Yeah,
I looked at that, and it's tough to figure out whether this person is just trying to cash in on something. It's a funny thing, right? And it's on its face kind of silly. But when somebody makes an ERC20 token, I think they're also just trying to get some money from it, right? I didn't feel like doing enough research to figure out whether this is somebody who is legit. Yeah, I looked up the guy's name, and I didn't find enough information about him. So I assume that it's kind of a bit scamish, and I wanted to stay away from that.
Yeah, it's really hard to know. I've been getting less emails. I think you saw it too. Google's been filtering requests to the spam folder, which may be a good thing for my sanity, but at the same time, I'm sure there's a few ones that probably slipped away. Yeah, it's just hard to know, man. There's a lot of people trying to cash in.
Yeah. You want to talk about the negative adoption that's happening with Bitcoin? Because there was another, is it PayFast? I've never used PayFast, but
yeah, what is that? This is the first time I've heard about it.
I think it was an African payment system. Let's see. Here's their announcement on July 12th. At PayFast, we're constantly striving to extend our merchants' reach by offering innovative payment solutions. Our pioneering culture led to PayFast being the first and only South African payment gateway to make Bitcoin available as a revolutionary new payment method. Unfortunately, there are a number of limitations and design flaws unique to Bitcoin that make it an impractical substitute for cash, including high transaction fees and long confirmation times for buyers. We've tried various ways to mitigate these problems, but unfortunately, these issues are fundamental. The resultant poor user experience has led us to reevaluate Bitcoin as a payment method on our platform, and a decision has been taken to discontinue support for Bitcoin from midnight 20th of July 2019. So that's just happened. And it's true, and it's sad because, Bitcoin didn't have to be this way. The current direction of Bitcoin is switching it from peer-to-peer payments to kind of like a version of Swift, like a modern version of Swift with payment hubs, and it's a horrible disaster. It'll still go up in price for at least one or two more bubbles, maybe not, but I still think the fundamental technology that's left in Bitcoin is not great. It doesn't bode well for it. It's really crippled, and there's absolutely no reason why a company like this should be getting rid of a payment method unless it really doesn't work. And it just doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work for what it was designed for or what it was built for back in 2009, 2010.
Starting to see the cracks in the facade that you were kind of talking about for the last, over a year and a half. It's finally starting to happen.
There's been a lot of merchants over the past, couple of years that have taken to Bitcoin and seen how bad of a user experience it is and left it. For the past, 5 years or so. For about 5 years, you could see the writing on the wall that the development of Bitcoin was heading in the wrong direction. And then it really solidified within the past, 4 or 3 years, where, in my opinion, the wrong side had won out the name. I mean, and they clearly won out the name. They clearly, Bitcoin is the coin that doesn't believe Bitcoin can work. It's hard to grasp, but the current developers and users of Bitcoin don't think that the Bitcoin that was invented in 2009, 2010 can work. They don't think that it's possible. And so they built something that is possibly can work, but is really shitty. And it kind of switched what it was. So I definitely am not thrilled with that. But it's free markets, and there are other coins that do work. I still think, you'll see Ethereum still has a lot of developers working tirelessly, and I think you're going to start seeing the fruits of the labor of Ethereum. I think, surprisingly, one of the biggest gainers for the crappiness of Bitcoin will be Litecoin. For some odd reason, the Bitcoiners, or the current Bitcoin core type people, really like Litecoin, and so when Bitcoin may not be working as efficiently as possible, maybe Litecoin picks up some of the slack. I really like what Bitcoin Cash is doing, and there's Dash, and there's a bunch of different currencies that I think are way more able to become an interesting technology and competitor to Bitcoin.
Yeah, it's almost like Bitcoin has just become a brand name, and it's been bought out. Well, just like as a comparison by a different company, and then it slowly gets shitty.
Yeah, it's a hostile takeover for sure.
I hear a lot of people, like when people find out about the blockchain show, a lot of people ask me, like, what do you think about Litecoin? And I really don't know what to tell them. What's your opinion on Litecoin?
There's a lot of people that ask you about Litecoin.
Yeah, like is it better than Bitcoin? That's a lot of questions I get.
Yeah, well, it's really interesting because I think that there is no reason why anybody should prefer Litecoin over what Bitcoin was supposed to become, right? However, with the fact that Bitcoin being kind of overrun or overtaken or bought out by corporate interests, I think that Litecoin now, it's much more, it has the same ideology as Bitcoin. It has the same, or original Bitcoin, it has the same type of people involved. It has, it kind of like kept all the things about Bitcoin that were important to Bitcoin, where like Bitcoin Cash kind of branched out and kind of separated itself. Litecoin kind of stuck with Bitcoin. So everything that was to like about Bitcoin before 2015 or whatever is still kind of in Litecoin. And so I kind of like Litecoin for that. I think that if you're playing Litecoin just for purchasing and making a little bit more money, I think that it's a good pickup today at around $100. Just because I think that when Bitcoin when it finally cracks, when it finally breaks and finds its support as just like a collectible, because it'll always be a collectible. People always want to have like an original Bitcoin, even if it doesn't really work for its intended purposes. I don't know what that value is as a collectible, but provided the network still works and you can send Bitcoin, it'll always have some value. I think Litecoin could take its place. And I don't think it's done anything better than Bitcoin. I think money is it's like a shared delusion. I don't mean that as like a shared belief that isn't, that is wrong. I just mean it's a shared imagination, right? And that's how reality works, is we have these imaginations that we share. And, whether it's Hammurabi's code or the Constitution, these are not real things. They're just somebody imagined them. And somebody imagined Bitcoin, and it works as imagined until somebody imagined Bitcoin and segregated witness together. And that is a different imagination. Litecoin has kind of stayed to the same imagination as Bitcoin. And I think that Litecoin is much more interesting than Bitcoin. And the fact that Bitcoin people seem to like Litecoin, that gives it a chance of being a successor to Bitcoin, which I am a little bit shocked by, because I didn't think Litecoin had anything interesting going on for a long time. People bought the Litecoin as silver to Bitcoin's gold. And I didn't really see that as being anything all that interesting. They kind of changed a few numbers, but they have a networking effect. They're one of the older cryptocurrencies, been around a long time. I don't even know where their market cap is now. Are they like the fifth or sixth coin by market cap? I don't even know whether they count Ripple anymore, though. So Litecoin is the fourth. I'm going to get rid of Ripple because I don't really count it as a coin. So it's the third by market cap with Bitcoin Cash. See, Ethereum, XRP I don't really like. Litecoin I like. Bitcoin Cash I like. Binance Coin I don't really know anything about it. EOS I don't really like. Tether, Bitcoin SV, that's a piece of shit. Tron, I don't know. Stellar I kind of like. Cardano. It's yeah, so of the coins that are out there, I think Litecoin's a really good pickup. I like Litecoin a lot. Yep.
That's cool, man. I know we talked about it a long time ago, and I kind of just forgot about it, to be honest. But
a lot of people did. It was trading for like, $4 a while ago, and it looked like it was going nowhere. There was no development going on. There was no reason for it to be anything. And then Bitcoin kind of got crowded, and people needed to, make transactions between exchanges. And so what they would do is they would sell their Bitcoin for a coin that they liked, in this case Litecoin, and then transfer it because Bitcoin didn't work anymore. And so that brought a resurrection to Litecoin, and Charlie Lee got Litecoin listed on Coinbase. And, when you're on Coinbase and you're an old coin that's been around a long time, and people who are on a sinking ship seem to like your coin for some reason, that gives you a leg up. Things like Litecoin and Bitcoin are just for transferring value, right? There's more advanced coins for what they do. You want to move from exchange to exchange. I'm on Binance and I want to sell on Poloniex or whatever. Bitcoin takes too long and costs too much money, so you can't use it. Or there's a lot of times where it can't. It's unpredictable. You need to move now. And so you trade your Bitcoin for Litecoin and move the Litecoin over, and now you can trade on the other exchange. So much of this cryptocurrency is, as Trump said, fueled by legal activity. Not a moral activity, just a legal activity. Drugs, migrant workers, right? Sending remittances back. Type of things that are illegal but not necessarily immoral. Gambling, right?
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Just to bring it full circle back to those tweets, he could change Bitcoin to dollar, and that would all still be true. So
yeah, it's kind of funny that way.
It's almost.
It would be more true if you did that, right?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of the U.S. dollar or other currencies, which are not money. Well, that wouldn't be true. But whose value is volatile and based on thin air. True. Unregulated dollars can facilitate unlawful behavior, including drug trade and other legal activities.
Yeah. It really... I wonder how many people flat out agree with that, and then how many people are kind of like us, and it puts up some red flags.